Good morning, everybody. How are we all? It's grey and it's rainy and it's blowing a hoolie here in Dorset, but to the lot of it, because it's Technique Tuesday. You are hugely welcome to my studio. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things this morning, but in the meantime, say hello in the chat. Let us know how you are. Let us know how you're getting on. Let us know what you're working on at the moment. I can see some names coming in already. That's fantastic. Ali D, good morning. B, morning. Pauline, Joe, Rabina, Anna, Marion, Sarah, Anne. Coffee's at the ready, biscuits at the ready, Anne. I like to hear that. Linda, lovely Jan in Wales, Anne. Lots of people tuning in. And Ali has and Dee have both noticed that I have my new uniform on today. This was lovingly made by my mum to celebrate the launch of the studio. And Dee, you may also notice that I have my lucky earrings in today. So yes, so we have my lucky bee emblem on my collar. I feel like I am dressed and ready for work. So just in case you have not joined us before, my name is Ali Board. I'm an artist, an art tutor and an author, and every Tuesday I try to bring you Technique Tuesday, where we have a discussion about something art related or subject related or any of those kind of things. And we are live on Facebook at the moment, but you might be watching me through my blog or through my YouTube channel. All of those things we will talk about later. Now, it looks like, of course, we do have some gremlins in the works today. I am going to carry on talking because you can probably still hear me and maybe not see me. But let's switch to a different camera. This happened to us last week, but you can still see my hands, I think. What I am going to do is try to switch to a different camera for later on. You're just going to need to stick with me just for a second. Let's see if I can rectify that. Looks like the gremlins have stopped now. Goodness me. Oh, I'm hoping that I have unfrozen now. Let's get to the overhead camera anyway. Let's talk about the things that are in front of us. Like I said, it is blowing a hoolie here today, so I'm guessing that our internet is not behaving as it should. So what have we got here this morning? What we've got here this morning is a whole selection of blacks, because the lovely Linda P got in touch with me and was talking about various things to do with black and how can she use black? Do you need to layer up black? All of those kind of things. So what I've got here is a selection. Now let me take you through some facts. I would strongly recommend with this broadcast today that actually you get a cup of coffee, you take some notes, you do anything but pay attention to it. And the reason that I'm saying that is because I'm going to throw a lot of technical information at you. And so this is something that you're going to want to come back to rather than pay a huge amount of attention to right at the moment. So, why black? Why is black a thing in watercolour? You will get some people that will say to you, don't use black, you should never use black. You know me and the art police. I am that person that says that you shouldn't listen to people that tell you not to do something. You should find your own route through it. Now, black has always been something that I have used in watercolour. I agree that you need to use it in moderation. However, if you want to use black in your picture, there are things that occur naturally that are black. There's usually an argument that says, oh, nothing's ever black in nature. That's not true. absolutely not true. So if you want to use black, use it. But what I'm going to try to do today is give you a huge overview of all the blacks that we can use, all the blacks that you might want to use. But one of the first things, and my apologies that I can't remember who said it to me in last week's Technique Tuesday broadcast, was talking about trying to understand pigments, why it's important, all of those kind of things. So the first thing I'm going to do is to teach you how to read a tube. So let's take, which one shall we use for this? Let's use this tube as an example of how to read a tube. Now I need to get my glasses on. Because the tubes, I've got large tubes here and I still struggle to read them. Why do you need to understand what is in a tube? You need to understand it because, like all things that are created, they usually have an ingredients list. Okay, you do this in your shopping, don't you? You go if you are allergic to something or if you want to avoid something in particular. You look to the ingredients list. Now, paint tubes do have an ingredients list, and the ingredients list that you want to pay attention to are the pigment numbers. Now, on a lot of tubes, the pigment numbers are actually listed. They are just in the world's smallest writing. So on this tube of lamp black, I'm going to try to get it up into the camera and very much hoping, yes, can you see there? It says pigment and then a whole heap of information. But the bit that you want to pay attention to is this bit just here, where it says PB and then some letters and numbers, okay? Now, what does that mean? Every pigment that goes into a watercolour tube, and I am particularly concentrating on artist's quality here, on artist quality. It does also apply to student quality, but I am talking about artist quality today. Every tube of watercolour paint has one or more pigments that go into it, and those will tell you what it is that you're dealing with here. Now, this tube of lamp black that I've got here has got PBK6. What does that mean? So you've got P, which stands for pigment, BK, which stands for black. Now, the reason that it's BK is obviously because you can also have pigment blue, which is PB. Now, this is PBK6. So I know the ingredients for this is lamp black. Okay, now I know that sounds stupid because it's called lamp black, but believe me, later on this will become a lot clearer to you. So PBK6 is a lamp black pigment. What is a lamp black pigment? Lamp black pigment is comes from carbonizing either gas or oil. Okay, so there we've got PBK6 on there. That is the Daniel Smith lamp black. Now, if I take a different lamp black, so this is the SAA's lamp black, it is still called lamp black, okay, but on the side, whilst the SAA are getting much better at labelling their tubes of paint, on here it actually says pigment carbon black. Now, that is not PBK6, that is PBK7. What's the difference between lamp black and carbon black? Carbon black is plant matter, lamp black is gas or oil carbonizing. Now, does that matter? Okay, that's the big question. I know that some of you will be out there going, yeah, well, that's great, Ali. I understand that information, but why is it applicable? It's applicable because each of those pigments has its own very specific properties, and they are going to affect any mixing that you make and any kind of standardization in colour. So if you go out and buy a cake, right, it's got flour, eggs, maybe some milk, sugar, all of those kind of things, but you absolutely know that not all flour is the same. I can tell you as a chicken owner that not all eggs are the same. Milk, definitely not. Sugar, definitely not. And so you understanding what is going into your paint can have an overwhelming impact on how you mix your colours and how you use your colours. So the first thing I'm going to do today is take you through a little selection that I have got here. We're going to look at some new ones. I'm going to paint some swatches up for you. We'll talk about the swatches. We'll also talk about the kind of subsidiary blacks, which I've got up here. So bear with me, deep breath everybody. We are going to go for this, okay? So I've already shown you the Daniel Smith Lamp Black. So here it is on the piece of watercolour paper. It is PBK 6. I've labelled it up here in this corner. I tend to write the name. I tend to write the manufacturer. I've just got DS down here in the corner. And then I write some other things about it if I think they are going to be useful to you. So Lamp Black is, in the Daniel Smith, is an opaque colour. And it's staining as well. What does staining mean? Staining means that it's quite difficult to do a lifting out technique with it. So I've got all of that information. I don't have to then peer at my tube ever again. I can look at my swatch and it's got all the information right there for me. So that's my Lamp Black. I do like Lamp Black. Incidentally, I vastly prefer it to Ivory Black simply because Lamp Black is a blue black. And Ivory Black tends to be a brown black, and I think they look duller. But that is absolutely my opinion, and other people will tell you different. Now here is another one of my absolute favourites. So this is also a Daniel Smith colour. This is Lunar Black, okay? Now Lunar Black is PBK 11, so it's a slightly different pigment. How does that manifest itself? It manifests itself because it is transparent. Okay, which if you want to see the paper through, you can see the paper very clearly through there. And it granulates. Now, anybody that knows me knows very well that I like a granulating pigment. I like to create texture on my piece of paper, and therefore I'm going to look to Lunar Black to be a really interesting textural colour, great for texture on animals, all of those kind of things. So that's your Lunar Black. What else have we got here? So there's the SAA's Lamp Black. So if you don't particularly want to spend an awful lot of money, because I am always aware that I spend people's money for them. If you don't want to spend an awful lot of money on your watercolour paints, but you still want to have one of quality, I can recommend the SAA's watercolours. This is the Lamp Black. Now this is interesting, look. We said, didn't we, there was a difference in pigment, and how does that manifest itself? It manifests itself because this is PBK 7. This is not as opaque as PBK 6. In fact, this is semi-transparent, and there you've got evidence of it down there that you can almost, when it's thinned out a little bit, you can see the watercolour paper through it. And I get that this is geeky stuff, all right? I get that my brand new purple smock is acting as an anorak today. I absolutely understand that. Like I said, this is something for you to understand either later on, or if you want to join me in my fellow geekness, if that's a word, then join me for the ride, and you can learn some of this along with me. So that's the SAA's Lamp Black. Now what else have we got here? Some of you may have seen my love for the new Schminker Super Granulating colours. They come in their Horodam Aquarelle range. These are 3 of them, and I've chosen these because they call themselves black. These are convenience colours, okay? They are 2 or 3 pigments mixed together in a tube, and they kind of do the hard work for you. So you could call it cheating. As you know, I'm not a massive fan of that word. I tend to see cheating as shortcuts, but hopefully you can see from the samples that I've got here that not only do they really, they're not lying when they say they're super granulating colours, they really are super granulating colours, but they have some interesting information to go with them. So over here we have the Glacier Black. So again, I've put a little dot in the corner, I've pulled that colour out, and so down here I've written Glacier Black, PBK 11. Okay, so this is the same pigment as the Lunar Black. And here you've got PB35. Now what does that mean? So that means you've got two pigments in this tube. You've got the lovely granulating black that we saw in the Lunar Black on Daniel Smith. And you've got PB35. Now PB35 is the pigment number for cerulean. Okay, so you've got Lunar Black and cerulean mixed together in a tube for your convenience right there. I've just seen a question come up, and I'm going to address it while I see it in my line of sight. Anne says that my new SAA lamp black says opaque on it. Yeah, and you do have to, it's a really good point to make. You do have to keep an eye on your paints. You can't guarantee just because it says something on the tube that it's going to be the same every time. Now, SAA have just put a lot of time and effort into upgrading the manufacture of their paints. I haven't got my hands on all of the new ones yet, so it might be that you have a different pigment number, and that's as good an illustration as any to understand that if you get a new tube in your range, or if you think for some reason that the ingredients have changed, you need to double check what it is. Okay, so just double check that information. If you want to have a chat with me about it, particularly as it's Anne asking me, Anne, you and I can chat about this in the next session that we have together. All right, so carrying on with the super granulating colours, over here you've got a deep sea black. And this has got 3 pigments in it, so really a convenience colour. So you've got PBK11, that lovely granulating, what's called a Mars black pigment, okay? It's a synthetic iron oxide, but that's getting super geeky on you. PB74 is cobalt blue deep pigment, and PB35 is our cerulean pigment. So you've got them there mixed together, all ready to go. Okay, Linda, I've just seen you pop up. Lovely to have you in the room. Let me know how Mischief is, because I know Mischief's gone walkabouts. Sending you a big love. I know it's scary when your pets decide to go AWOL. Sending you a massive hug this morning, my lovely. Over here, we have the Schminke Galaxy Black. So you've got the Glacier Black, Deep Sea Black, and the Galaxy Black. And this one is a little bit different again. So you've got PBK11, you've got that Mars black pigment. And you've got PB29, and you can probably guess, pigment blue, what colour would you reckon that is? It's ultramarine. That's the colour for ultramarine. So they have 3 convenience colours that are doing really interesting things on the paper. Now, you will get some people, and I have said it before, I'll be the first to admit, that would say you need to use single pigments wherever possible. But of course you can get those colours that do interesting things for you, like Moon Glow. We haven't even gone into Moon Glow yet, have we? But here you have 3 convenience colours ready mixed for you. So let's put those to one side. I'm getting a right old selection going on to my left. Now, here's an anomaly, okay? Here's a really weird anomaly in the list of blacks. This is Pyraline Green, and I can hear you saying it at home. Why on earth has she got Pyraline Green? It says it's green. What is she talking about? Right. Oh, Linda, Mischief still AWOL. Oh, goodness me. Why is she talking about Pyraline Green? Have a look at this. Let's see if I can get it into shot. Oh, shaky old hand. Where is it? Up there. Can you see that? PBK 31, right? So it's called Pyraline Green, but it's actually a black pigment, and it's obviously a black pigment with a green bias. So just because it's called something doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a particular pigment in the tube. You can see very clearly from holding it up to the camera that is PBK 31. That is a Pyraline colour, and whilst it is obviously green, it's a black pigment. Okay. So I've got a pile over there. Now, before I show you some of the others that I'm going to demonstrate, I have some colours that I get asked about often on a very regular basis, okay? And I want to just talk about them briefly. So we've got a couple of Paynes Grey type colours. We've got a couple of neutral tints. In fact, that's something we need to talk about. We've got indigo and we've got Paynes Grey there. So Paynes Grey. Why am I talking about Paynes Grey? Often, and please, again, don't take what I say as gospel. Please don't take it as gospel. This is purely my opinion, okay? And my opinion is ripe for being contested, discussed, argued with, all of those kind of things. This is just the set of kind of rules, if you like, that I have come to live by. So some artists will tell you to not use black, to use Paynes Grey instead, right? Now, what I want to tell you is to just be careful with that information, because let me show you on the Daniel Smith tube if I can find it. Okay, so this is Paynes Blue Grey. Daniel Smith do a couple of different Paynes Greys, but this is Paynes Blue Grey. Let's have a look up in the camera at the colour numbers. So you've got PB60. So PB60 is actually Indian Throne Blue, and you have got PBK6. And as we know, PBK6 is lamp black. All right. So you have Indian Throne and black mixed together in a tube. So you're not avoiding black by using Paynes Grey. You're just using a different mix of it. Now, some of you will absolutely, look at the state of my nails. Some of you will absolutely swear that you don't want to use black and you want to use Paynes Grey instead. That's fine and dandy. Completely fine and dandy. What I'm saying is, don't think you're avoiding a black pigment by using something like Paynes Grey, okay? Now over here we have got neutral tint. So this is a Winsor & Newton colour. This is very interesting because this is an old style Winsor & Newton tube and this is a new style Winsor & Newton tube. And oh goodness, even with my glasses on, I'm struggling to see this. They do actually have the same content between the rebranding. I'll go with this one because I can see it slightly more clearly. So in the Paynes Grey, you've got PB15, which is phthalo blue. You've got PBK6, which is your lamp black pigment. And you've got PV19, pigment violet 19. Which one is that? That's quinacridone violet. So you have a dark blue and your black and your violet already mixed up in the tube as neutral tint. Here we've got indigo. This is De La Rowney's indigo. Let me just find the numbers. So you've got PB15, look at that, phthalo blue. You've got PBK7, which is your carbon black. And there you've got PV19, which is the quinacridone violet again. All right. So you've got lots of colours that say that they're different things, but they've got similar ingredients, okay? Let's shove those to one side as well. Now here is a colour that you will see me demonstrate with regularly. This is Jane's Grey. Now, based on what I've just said about neutral tint and indigo and Paynes Grey and all of those kind of things, you might be thinking to yourself, well, obviously Jane's Grey has got a black in it, because if you've used it before, you'll know that it's an amazing deep dark colour. But let's just check, shall we? So over here on the side, scrape a bit of paint off, you have got, let's get it into the camera. There you go. You've got PB29, which as we know is our ultramarine pigment. And you've got PBR7. Hang on a minute. PBR, pigment brown. PBR7, that is burnt sienna. So that doesn't have any black in it at all. That's just ultramarine and burnt sienna pre-mixed in your tube as a convenience colour. Now, one word about convenience colours, okay? I think convenience colours are fantastically interesting because I have often mixed together ultramarine and burnt sienna to get a grey. I cannot make the fantastic grey that Jane's Grey is, okay? So sometimes check those convenience colours because they might actually be doing a better job than you trying to mix it together or double loading it into a palette. Oh, phew, that was a lot of information. You get to see me do some demonstrating now. What are people saying? Anne is saying, my current watercolour, I'm working on a bunch of snowdrops that has some lovely dark areas of DS Lunar Black and is looking fab against the Apatite Green Genuine Leaves. Oh, I'm so pleased, Anne. Good stuff. Other Anne B is saying, making me look at other tubes now, looking for black in them. De La Rowney Aqua Fine has carbon black in it amongst several others. Yes, so what I'm hoping this does is kind of open your eyes a little bit for things to look for when you choose paints. Now, of course, the other information that you're going to be asking me is, well, where do I find this out? How on earth am I supposed to know what colours are in a tube before I purchase? And I think I saw a little comment come up from Mick. He was saying there's loads of websites out there that give you this information. If you order from the SAA, one of the things that the SAA is very good at, if you go onto their website and you choose one of the colours, you'll get a colour chart, click on that colour, and it will have all of the information about it. It will have what pigments are in there. It will tell you so that you know before you buy and you can do your homework. Anne is saying that she did a black and white cow and she painted a mix of alizarin and crimson, quinacridone gold and phthalo blue and nothing else. Yes, absolutely, because you're kind of doing the job of a convenience colour ahead of time. Diane is saying, I now have to go and check all my paint tubes, feeling a new spreadsheet coming on. You've got to love a spreadsheet, Diane. Right, here is the kind of crux of today. I've got 5 different colours for us to look at just to kind of do a compare and contrast. So what have we got? Here we have got the Daniel Smith Black Tourmaline Genuine. I will tell you more about that in just a second. I'm just going to squish a little dot of it out onto there. Here we have Winsor & Newton's Ivory Black. Not a colour I use very often, but it would be remiss of me if I didn't compare it for today's demonstration. What have I got here? I have got My Mieri. I don't talk about My Mieri very often. This is their My Mieri Blue range, and this is Carbon Black. So let's squish a little bit. Always lovely and creamy, the My Mieri Blue. Oh, now I've got it on my finger. Here is De La Rowney's Lamp Black so that we can compare it against some of the other lamp blacks that we've got. Squish that out. And here we have Mars Black just on its own. So this is Winsor & Newton's equivalent of Lunar Black. Let's squish a bit of that out too. Ooh. Right, and let's give these a bit of a swim. What should we start with? Let's start with the De La Rowney Lamp Black. So I've got my pot of water here. I've got my imitation sable brush. I've got my bit of kitchen roll. As per usual, lots of people are talking about the Daniel Smith dot cards. Yes, if you have one of those, they are fantastically useful because you can test it out before you actually use it. Okay, so here's De La Rowney's Lamp Black. So this is PBK 7. So this is the Carbon Black. And so you see it different from the where's my other swatch? Here we go. So De La Rowney Lamp Black PBK 7, Daniel Smith Lamp Black PBK 6. 2 different pigments. So let's take a little bit of water to that dot and we can fill out that colour. So whilst I'm doing this, I'll tell you about my little swatch cards. So as you can probably see, I've got a little swatch of watercolour paper. I punch a hole in the top of it so that I can bind them all together with rings. It's a very useful way of keeping your colours together. You've probably seen me do something like this before. If you haven't, go back over to my blog where you can find where I've talked about violets before and I've talked about greens before. If you're watching my blog on a desktop, there is a little search bar in the top right hand corner where you can actually search out the relevant piece of information, but I will try to put a link up on my page later to take you straight over to it. I'll give you some more information about that at the end. So there's that lamp black. Let's do the ivory black from Winsor & Newton. So this is PBK 9. And let's smush a little bit of this. This is a little bit harder to move because it's quite an old tube, because I don't use ivory black an awful lot. And I'll show you a comparison against the lamp black in just a second. I'll take the dog hair out of it first. And let's move that around a little bit more. Probably should have had a bigger brush. Never mind. Never mind, never mind, never mind. Let's get that thinned out. So there, I'm hoping you can see the difference between the lamp black, which is a slightly bluer, colder black, and over here with the ivory black, you've got a brown black. Let's go to the Pyraline next. So this is PBK 7, so this is your carbon black pigment. Let's smush this out. The one thing that's really lovely about those Pyraline paints, it has to be said, is their consistency. They're very kind of sticky. So if you like your paint really kind of smooth and you like that kind of consistency when you paint, then Pyraline Blue, definitely one to consider. I don't particularly like the sticky quality of them for the way that I paint, but plenty of people do. So it's horses for courses, isn't it? It's exactly like shopping. If we were talking about making cakes earlier, it's exactly, why do you buy one brand of flour over another brand of flour? Because you do, is the answer to that. So there's that carbon black. Let's have a look at the Mars black. Give my brush a really, really good wash out. Heather's saying, I think my eyes are starting to go now. Yes, don't worry, Heather, I am near the end. I'm near the end of my ranting. Like I said, this is something that you might want to come back to another time rather than trying to take in all the information today, because it is super geeky. I've got my very best pigment anorak on. This is something that you kind of need to know after the event. If something's kind of not working with your paints, or you're bored with a particular selection of paints, this is something to come back to another day, isn't it? So there's the Winsor & Newton Mars Black. So that is the PBK 11, just the same way that the Daniel Smith is. And again, like I've said about shopping for things, out of the two, this is the one I prefer. But it's just my personal opinion. And then last but by no means least, we have that Anomaly, okay? This is Daniel Smith Black Tourmaline Genuine. There is no pigment number because the genuine pigments in the Daniel Smith range are what's known as their Primatech range. And that is because their colours are actually the thing that they are purporting to be. So in terms of gemstones, this is actually black tourmaline ground up. Now, one of the delicious things about the Primatech range in the Daniel Smith is that they all granulate, and they all have kind of special properties in the sense that they are all single pigment. They do some really interesting things on the paper, all that kind of stuff. So you can see there's the black tourmaline genuine. So we have a selection of additional blacks to look at. Let me just recap. Black tourmaline genuine, Winsor & Newton's ivory black, De La Rowney's lamp black, Winsor & Newton's Mars black, and Pyraline carbon black. Now, this information, of course, you don't really want to be coming back to this broadcast again and again and again. I have over on the website, let's pop the website address up, AlisonSeaboard-fineart.co.uk. On the website, you will see in the menu a little thing that says resources, or in the list on the drop down of images, you'll see something that says learning resources. Navigate your way over to that, and under something that says additional watercolour information, you will see I have scanned these in for you. Haven't done these 5 yet, but all of the others I have scanned in for you with all of the information on them. so that if you're ever concerned about what paint should you buy and why should you buy it, you can pop over to that resource. I'm going to build on that throughout the year. There's already a huge list of greens on there. There's already a huge list of violets on there too. And then you can go over, have a look. There's all sorts of other information on there too, with the royalty-free photographs, all of that kind of stuff. And you can pop over to the website and you can double check things, and you can see the colour. So I scan these in, these actual samples are what I scan in, and I try to make them as true as is humanly possible to colour by editing them, so that you can have a look on screen and go, ooh, okay, yeah, I fancy getting that one, okay? Don't worry, I'm going to put a link to all of that either up on Facebook or over on my blog. If you like to read a bit more information about the blog, then don't forget that it's over on my website again. It's Ali's blog. I'll pop a little link up on Facebook for you. Lots of things. Shall we try the head on camera? Shall we try it and see if it works? Woo! Dear, the wind stopped blowing, so I'm hopeful. You never know. Now, before the camera does go, there's some things I need to catch you up on. Look back at Facebook for the links to the blog, to the resources, all of that kind of stuff. The best place to find all of this information is always over on my blog, on that website, alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk. Some other things that I have to very quickly say. Thank you so much to everybody for your support this weekend that's just gone in the virtual launching of my studio. If you want to see more about that, pop over to the website. There's a whole page dedicated to Down End Farm Studio now. What else have I got to talk about? Artist demo days, that's what I've got to talk about, and I know there's some artist demo days in the room as well. You had Ali Hargreaves with her absolutely fascinating cubist style portraiture last week. You've got Sharon tackling all sorts of things this week. Now tonight, do not forget, I know she's in the room, Denise Allen, Keep Your Eyes Peeled, Landscape Artist of the Year on Sky Arts. Not tonight, tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Landscape Artist of the Year. Keep your eyes peeled. She was a wild card entry. We're hoping she makes it big in on the camera. Can't wait to see her pop up. That's so proud of her for doing that, because it's such a scary thing to go and do. In terms of what I've got coming up, all my classes start back this week. I've got my first one tonight, Primroses. There might be some of you in the room who are going to join me tonight. We've got the All Aboard Artists starting back this week. All sorts of things going on. So keep your eyes peeled on my social media. Thank you so much for continuing to pay attention. I've just been looking at the number of people who are in the room. Hasn't dropped off too quickly. So either you've fallen asleep and you kind of left Facebook running, or I haven't bored you too much. But I would strongly recommend you go back through the broadcast and watch it again, just to kind of get it in your head, or pop over to that website and have a look at those learning resources. Thank you very much for joining me. I will be back with you next Tuesday, same time, same place at 10 a.m. And until then, whilst the UK is on an astonishing lockdown, continue to stay very safe, look after each other, keep supporting each other, and I will see you very soon.